So very good morning to one and all present here. Today we are going to see about statistical quality control system in quality engineering applications. First, let us have a comparison between the basic term quality and quality improvement. So the basic term, the quality, we can understand from the meaning that the proposed product must be able to serve the purpose both in terms of design and also with respect to the manufacturability of the product. So the quality means fitness for usages. So the proposed product must have the ability to serve for the common purpose. So what is the purpose of a product? It will serve as a base for customer satisfaction. So the primary aim of the product is to provide the necessary service for the customer. So that is the usages, the basic usages. So we want to fit that primary purpose as per the consumer buying behavior. So what does a quality improvement means? So identifying the general source of wastage which occurring in the product and process and try to eliminate those wastage by enhancing the quality standards. So quality means delivering the better efficiency from the product side, whereas quality improvement, maintaining some standard procedure by eliminating all the wastages which occur in the process and products. So with this introduction, now we will get into the statistical quality control. So it is a graphical representation of information, physical information taken from the sample, and that can be plotted by means of a chart. So through by diagrammatic illustrative figure, you can able to understand whether the proposed system is within the controllable limit or not. So that is the purpose of usage by implementing the statistical quality control system. So what are the methods of statistical quality control? The one is acceptance sampling method. The next one is the proposed method, SQC, statistical process control. Now, what is acceptance sampling under statistical quality control? So in this method, we cannot perform the inspection related to a product quality on 100% basis. So random sampling can be carried out. So a product can be picked up randomly from a given lot. Based on that, the corrective decisions can be taken, whether it is a good quality lot or a bad quality lot, depending on the number of defective items present in the lot. And the acceptance or rejection based on the two different kinds of risk involved in the acceptance sampling. Producer risk, that is a risk with the manufacturing people. The risk experienced by the factory people, manufacturer. Consumer risk experienced from the customer side. So depending on these two levels of risk, we can do the sampling process. Now, statistical process control. So using this method, we can able to find out the variations which occur in the final output of the process based on the causes, following common causes. The cause may due to randomly occurring variation in the process. That may lead to out of or due to the out of ordinary assignable causes. So based on the graphical display, we can identify the possible causes under two categories: randomly occurring causes or ordinary assignable causes. So based on that, the decision can be made in order to set out the process to bring the output back to the acceptable limit. And these are the basic 7 major tools of the quality control system. So one is histogram, the next one is a Pareto chart, cause and effect diagram, defect concentration diagram, control chart, scatter diagram, and check sheet. These are the 8 basic different tools of quality engineering methods. Histogram, using a bar chart or a bar diagram, we can able to highlight the basic information about a particular process so that we can able to infer from the bar diagram. It is one of the most simplest, easiest tool to understand the current state of the process occurring in the manufacturing system. What do you mean by a Pareto chart? So it is nothing but 80 by 20 rule. This method can be otherwise called as 80 by 20 rule. What it exactly means, 80 by 20 rule. So if you take any fundamental production process, so due to minor problems, 20% of the minor problems occurring in the production shop floor, later that will cause 80% of the major side issues, side effects. So thereby, this so-called method we call as 80 by 20 rule. Cause and effect diagram is nothing but a fishbone diagram. So here we can highlight what are the major causes. Due to the causes, what are the effects measured in the process that can be described with a simple block diagram in the form of a fishbone network, so that we can find out the solution for the available causes and its side effects. Defect concentration is nothing but a root cause analysis, same similar like fishbone diagram. The control chart is the one now we are going to focus more deep the following slides. It is a statistical quality control chart. Scatter diagram, then check sheet. These are the next available basic tools used in quality control management system. Now we will get into the basic information about the statistics in quality control applications. So statistics are generally classified into 2 major categories. First one is a descriptive type statistics, and the secondary one is inferential statistics. So what is a descriptive statistics? It provides a survey or an outlay summary about a particular population of a collected data samples. So descriptive statistics is nothing but a group of the samples within the population collected through by means of a survey-based method. Simple example I can say for descriptive statistics, collecting a data which describes how many number of the raw materials are inspected for having a better quality in order to start the final production process. Measuring the percentage of the raw material which is free from defects, which is considered to be more qualified enough to start the production process. So in terms of numerical figures and facts, we may collect a survey through by data collection by defining the population sample size. So this is called as a descriptive statistics. Inferential statistics, the next one. So developing some sort of conclusion based on the proposed population from the random sample. So take a random sample from the given population and try to analyze the background information present in the sample and write the conclusion based on the data which is presented descriptively, that can be represented by means of a block diagram or the form of a chart. So statistics can be measured in these two levels, descriptive and inferential. Now we will focus on inferential statistics because our level of discussion will be purely focused on inferential statistics. Since statistical quality control SQC purely based on the second method, inferential statistics. So this is a tool which helps us to select a small sample from the existing population, existing data. So these samples may be pulled out randomly from the given population. Based on that, we can able to analyze the pattern of the data from the analytical process based on based on the analytical purpose. So we can able to find out the shape of the data pattern by plotting a normal distribution graph. By using mean and standard deviation. So from that we can able to understand the so-called process, whether it is within the controllable limit or out of limit. So this is called as an inferential statistics. So these are the three essential categories of SQC. The first one is descriptive statistics, statistical process control. The last one is the acceptance sampling. So in descriptive statistics, we have to define the mean of the sample, standard deviation and range. Based on that, we are going to analyze the performance of the system, how far it is better able to give the good result. Whereas the statistical process control is nothing but using the graphical chart by applying all the mean, standard deviation and range through by graphical chart, we can able to systematically analyze the variations occurring in the process. And sampling is nothing but a random inspection for measuring the source of quality in the existing process. Now let us understand the basic meaning. What does the word means stands for? In order to calculate the mean, that is nothing but x bar. So this can be denoted as x bar. So we have to project the number of observations for calculating the mean of the sample, and the total number of observation. So these are the two data we have to provide for calculating the mean of the sample. This can be written with the formula x bar equal symbol summation of xi. That is, xi is nothing but individual observation, summation of individual observation. So we want to sum up each and every observations from the statistical process which is collected through by experiment. Then where I is nothing but number of data sets, I varies from 1 to n, where n is the total number of observations. So this is the equation which is maintained for calculating the mean of the sample. And these are the indication for various parameters. And standard deviation. So what is the equation for finding out the standard deviation of the sample? So by using standard deviation, we can able to decide the shape of the curve. For example, in a normal distribution, we can fix the standard deviation within the minimum tolerable limit and maximum tolerable limit. Based on that, we can decide the dispersion, the spread of the curve. So that helps us to take a suitable decision whether the proposed the sample which has been done by numerical analysis are considered to be more convenience or not, whether to accept the lot or not. So this is the way to find out the standard deviation sigma. So summation of I varies from 1 to n within parentheses xi. Xi is the observation minus mean of the sample x bar, whole thing square divided by n minus 1. N is the total number of observation. So put square root for all the parameters. So thereby we can find out the sigma value. So these are the list of simple integration which is given here. Sigma is the standard deviation of the sample. X bar is the mean of the sample. Xi is the individual sets of observations that may varies from 1 to n, and number of observations in the sample n. Now let us extend our fundamental concept in further way. Let us take the use of descriptive statistics. So to monitor the quality of the existing product function or a process, statistical quality control considered to be the major tool to determine the amount of variation, and thereby we can assure whether the process is within the state of control or out of control limit. Now let us understand what do you mean by variation in quality. This is one of the subset of statistical process control. So in general, no two items may not be identical in shape in this universe. It is a general fact, accepted information. There might be having some sort of variations in the two items. That is one of the most integral part in any fundamental manufacturing process. You can define the shape of the component in terms of design, material, and the aesthetic appeal that may be differing with each other. So this difference in the characteristic we call as a variation. So this variation helps us to predict the measure of quality within a system, within a manufacturing system. Here they have given some example variation in quality. So variation in quality expressed in terms of an operator skill, variation in quality expressed in terms of fault present in a machining system, variation in quality in terms of raw material quality, properties, physical, mechanical properties. So the quality can be defined with the variability in all different categories of examples. Our major aim is to control the variation in the product quality within the allowable tolerance limit. So now we will see the types of causes due to the variation in the product quality. So common causes, or we can say chance causes. Variation due to chance causes or common causes. So here they have given some example. Defect in the machine, raw material imperfection with respect to the geometry. So these are some chance causes. The raw material quality is not good. That may show indirect side effect when you are machining the raw material in the equipment. So it is a chance causes. So that may behave in a random manner. So we want to understand whether this process is said to be within the proper control or not. So variation due to assignable causes. The first one we saw chance causes, common causes, general cause. Now special causes, variation due to assignable causes. So it is not considered to be randomness, non-random in nature. Okay, so the quality due to the machine performance, difference in the machine performance, the quality of raw material that may differ based on the vendor supplier. Okay, the quality of a job completion time that may differ depending on the operator skill. These are some of the non-random causes. So all these basic types of causes can be statistically illustrated by plotting a bell-shaped normal distribution curve. Based on that, we can able to understand the variation which are occurring in the product quality. That variation is within the controllable limit or not. So with reference to the previous slide information, now we will understand the importance of specification and control limits. So when we are defining a quality for a particular product or a process, so we want to maintain some standards or specification. Okay, we should not copy as such as from the original dimension of an item. So here they have given an example. The diameter of the pen the manufactured expected by the manufacturer is 7 mm, but we should not exactly produce a 7 mm. So we should keep some allowable tolerance with the primary dimension 7 mm plus or minus 0.05. So based on that, we have to fix the specification limit. So lower limit and upper limit 6.95 to 7.05. So from this limit 6.95 to 7.05, so we can able to understand the experimentation process which is carried out through statistical application, how far the quality of the curve graph perfectly fixed within the tolerable limits. Now we will see the control chart. It is a tool to find out the variation in the process with respect to a time. Based on that, you can able to identify the characteristics of an item or a sample as a final outcome. The quality control chart, the control chart has a following things that can be understood while drawing a graph. So it will have an average or central line, upper line for the upper control limit, lower line for mentioning the lower control limit. These lines are essential for calculating the data in order to predict whether all the items which are collected through statistical sampling are within the control specification limit or not. Now we will see the history of the quality control system. Who has invented this theoretical method? So Walter Andrew Stewart, who is said to be the father of statistical quality control system, and he has invented this method in 1920. So this method is first implemented in telephone communication system to measure the source of variation in the communication interface. So what do these charts will perform? So it detects the variation present in the processing, and thereby it provides a warning signal whether the system is carried out within the specified tolerance limit or not. So this chart will act as a diagnostic technique. Moreover, we can able to analyze the past data or an information, determine from that we can able to determine the performance of the process. So before going to the principle of a statistical quality control system, let us understand the measure of difference between defects and defectives. So first let us understand what is a defects. Any item or a service which has some fault, minor fault. Let us take for an example, a crack or a bend in the shaft are considered to be a defect. What is a defective? Defective is nothing but the entire product failed to serve for the common purpose. It cannot be used again. It cannot be used for anything. It is quite unacceptable for use. So from the previous information, I told you that the presence of a crack in a shaft, due to that, it cannot be used for anything in future. So the total system is considered to be defective. So this is the difference between defects and defective. Defect is nothing but some minor problem that may be due to wear and tear or a fracture in a component. So thereby it will lose its entire usage in future. It will totally consider to be an unacceptable product or defective product. Now we will get into the classification of control charts. So the control charts can be classified into two major types. One is a variable chart, the other one is an attribute chart. Variable chart, X bar chart and R chart. So what is the comparison between variable and attribute chart? A variable chart will provide a depth information about the product dimensions, whereas the attribute chart will differentiate between a defective item and non-defective item. It will not provide in-depth information about the particular product or a function. The variable chart, the best example I can say is statistical quality control chart. For attribute chart, go and no-go gauges. Now let us see the variable chart, X bar and R chart, with a simple numerical case study as an exercise problem. First, let us see the fundamental X bar chart. So what is X bar? What does the term X bar? So it shows some changes in the existing process, and that is influenced by changes in the process variability. So for example, let us take, you take a diameter of the gas cylinder. Okay, so if that is the problem we are going to discuss in detail, so I will give you the preface as a slight introduction. You want to measure the process variability of the product diameter of the gas cylinder. So due to the minor variation, so we can able to find out the influence of the variation by using the X bar chart statistically. It is a chart for measuring the center tendency that indirectly influence the final state of quality of a system. And it shows erratic or cyclic shifts in each and every process. So if the given process is not within the controllable limit, it shows an erratic or cyclic shifts from the graphical diagram. So this is the synergy. From that we can able to understand from the final results. And also we can able to find out the steady progress changes due to the defects occurring in the existing process. It is most commonly used as a variable chart, X bar chart. So simply X bar chart is nothing but finding the variation in the fundamental system or a process. So setting the control limits for X bar chart. So see, these are the sigma limits, 1 sigma limit, 2 sigma limit and 3 sigma limit. So depending on upper control limit and lower control limit, we want to fix the confidence interval, error confidence interval. So 1 sigma limit, that is equal to 68% of the error confidence interval. 2 sigma limit, 95% confidence interval is specified. 99.7% for 3 sigma limit. So this confidence interval, which tells about the level of significant range by which we can able to accept or reject the lot within the tolerance control limit. So how control limits are more useful? So from the simple diagram, the line graph, we can able to understand the importance of control limits. So these are the lines which helps to track the performance of the particular system. So these are the sample numbers which are plotted on the x-axis, and the y-axis, the control limit specifications are given. So lower control limit and upper control limit. And this is the mean average center line which is drawn. So the data which is collected from each sample are plotted by means of a control point. So here we can identify from the given sample. So one particular observation is considered to be out of the controllable limit. So this clearly proves that the proposed the quality is not within the acceptable region. So we want to revise the quality standards of the product or a process function. So in this way, we can able to identify the use of control limit as an integral part of statistical quality control system. Now we will get in touch with the case study followed by a numerical example. So consider a manufacturing factory, a gas cylinder manufacturing factory, so which produces 50 cylinders per hour. The samples of 10 cylinders are taken as a reference at random from the production at every hour, and the diameters of the cylinders are measured. Draw X bar and R chart and decide whether the process is within the control limit or not. So this is the question. And these are the numerical data which is collected from the samples. The number of total number of sample is 10. In each sample, there are 4 set of observations which can be classified under 4 levels: X1, X2, X3 and X4. So these are the diameters of the cylinder which is given here. Now find out the mean X bar under each sample number. So first add X1 plus X2 plus X3 plus X4 divided by the number of observation in the particular sample. So there are 4 observations. So add this value and divide by 4. You will get mean X bar. Once again, I will repeat for the next row. Take sample number 2. 220 plus 230 plus 280 plus 242 divided by number of observations in sample number 2 said to be 4 divided by 4, you will get this value. So same operation we have to repeat for the remaining sample numbers so that we will get mean X bar value in each row. So find out the summation for this. Then range for each row we want to calculate. Find out the maximum range and the minimum range. The formula is maximum range. So the maximum value 250 x4 minus x1 230. That will give you the difference 20. 250 minus 230 20. Similarly, we have to do it for the sample number 2 for find out the range number for the second row. Identify the large maximum value 242 minus minimum value 220. You will get the difference value. So the same thing is carried out for remaining rows. Find out the summation of the range, right? Now we want to find out the mean x bar and range using this formula. X bar equal to summation of x bar by m. M is nothing but the total number of samples divided by 10. So that you will get the mean x bar value and range R value. Okay. Now substitute this value in the control chart equation. So this is the table, statistical table which will be provided for you during the examination. So from this we have to refer the attribute numbers A2, D3 and D4 for finding out the upper control limit and lower control limit. I will tell you how to use. First let us see the formula. Control limit for X bar chart. First we want to find out the upper control limit and lower control limit for the X bar chart. And we know the mean X bar value. This is the equation x bar plus A2 into R bar range. Then lower control limit x bar, same value. Instead of plus we want to put minus. That is a lower control limit. Other things are same. So what are the values we are known in advance? We know the value of x bar and R bar, but we don't know A2. So that A2 is taken from this table, statistical table. So we know the sample size is 10. So for sample size n equal to 10, what are the value of A2, D3 and D4? 0.31, 0.22, 1.78. So copy this value and write it here. Sorry, I made a mistake. The sample size is 4. I made a mistake. Kindly make a kindly make a correction here. I told you total number of sample, that is capital N equal to 10. Sample size under each number is 4. So sample size is 4. For N equal to 4, these are the values we want to refer. 0.73, D3 value is 0, D4 value is 2.28. Now this will be correct, right? So A2 value is 0.73, D3 and D4 are given here for R chart, 2.28 and 0. So now apply the value of A2 from the table for the sample size n equal to 4 and find out the upper control limit and lower control limit. So this is the data for upper control limit and lower control limit. 249 units, 220 units. Now plot a graph manually. X-axis sample numbers. Okay, 0 to 10 sample numbers. Y-axis the diameter value of the cylinders. That is X bar value starting from 210 to 260. So here we calculated the value 249 and 220. Okay, so you have to perform a scale, take a scale unit in such a way that start from 200, 210, 215, 220, like that up to 260. You put the numbers in this range, 210 to 260. So draw a line, lower control line from 220 and 250, that is 249, round up to nearest integer 250. And central line that will be at 235 in between the lower control line and upper control line. Okay, now we want to plot the point. After pointing the point, we want to connect all the point by a line graph. So how to plot the point? First read sample number 1. For sample number 1, x bar, what is the x bar value? 240. For sample number 2, x bar value 230. So from the table we want to take and connect all the point by a line graph. So from this diagram it is clear that all the sample data are within the controllable system. None of the sample numbers are not going out of the observation limit. Similarly, we want to test for R chart also. Control limits for R bar chart. So this value we already found out from the previous slide. For your understanding, I am going back again. R bar equal to summation of R by N. From this we are getting this numerical figure. So now fix the upper control limit and lower control limit. D4 into R bar, D3 into R bar. So the D4 value is taken from the table from here. Sample size N equal to 4, D3 and D4 value. So D3 is 0, D4 is 2.28. So multiply with the central line R bar value. So find out the upper and lower control limit. Then in the same way like X bar, plot the graph diagram for R bar chart also. Write the range value, R range, 10 to 60, then write the sample number, then plot the point and draw the line graph. So for R bar chart also it is proven statistically that all the sample numbers are within the tolerable range. So from this example, it is understood that both X bar and R bar chart are proven statistically for the given sample number. Okay, so we can able to claim the quality of the diameter of cylinder, gas cylinder, to be accepted. Now, what are the application of normal distribution curve? So based on the observation in the previous numerical case study, now we will see the application of normal distribution curve. So it is a process capability study. Using normal distribution curve, we can able to study the performance of a process or capability of a system by measuring the confidence limit, error confidence limit, by keeping as a 95.73%. So this will give a assurance that the observations will lie within the sigma limit, within the 2 sigma limit. So for 2 sigma limit only we are giving this much percentage of significance level of error confidence. Then it helps to calculate the expected proportion of observation that will be less than or equal to the specified value. It also helps to calculate the expected proportion of observation that will be beyond the specified value of X. So using this confidence interval limit, we can able to find out whether the proposed system is within the specified limit or beyond the specified limit. So that is the application of normal distribution curve. Now we will see the next subsection of the statistical quality control chart, that is acceptance sampling. So this method was invented by Dodge and Roming. It was applied to the US military application in the testing of bullets during Second World War time period. The main use of acceptance sampling in military application is to test whether each and every bullet has the tendency to aim the primary target while firing from the gun or not. Or if there is some malfunctions, how to rectify those malfunctions. So through by acceptance sampling, we can able to do such kind of analysis. So this person Dodge performed a sampling that carried out at a random basis from the lot. So based on that, we can propose a decision whether to accept or reject the quality feature of the proposed sample size. So thereby, this method can be otherwise called as lot acceptance sampling or just acceptance sampling. So 100% inspection is not possible in acceptance sampling. So it takes more amount of time. So, and also it is quite expensive cost wise. So acceptance sampling is considered to be pure random or a blind approach. So they have given the reasons when we have to go for acceptance sampling. So 100% inspection, it takes too time. So the cost of 100% inspection might be high. So we have to go for random sampling approach. That is a lot-based sampling. So this is the simple mechanism for acceptance sampling, which are shown by a logical flowchart symbol. So collect a sample of input from the lot, and based on that, perform a logical decision framework whether the input is acceptable or not. If it is acceptable, do the manufacturing process, or if it is not acceptable, send it to scrap or rework, right? So after carrying out the manufacturing process, study the finished component within the process control limit or not. If it is yes, accept the output, deliver it to the customer. If it is no, again go rework the finished component in order to revise the quality limits or standards. This is just a manual framework or a mechanism that can be simply defined by a flowchart methodology. Now we will see the types of sampling plan, single sampling plan. In single sampling plan, only one sample size is considered, based on which acceptance or rejection decisions can be proposed. Simple example, if the number of defects is less, we can able to accept the sample, or if it is more, we have to reject. So these are the logical decisions to be formulated in the simple sampling plan. A simple graphical illustration of the acceptance sampling. So this is a population of data. From the population of data, a small proportionate of sample has been taken for analysis. Based on that, acceptance or rejection can be done by the statistician. So what does a single sampling define? So there will be n lot size. That is a total number of items. That is said to be n, capital N. Under each lot size, there will be a sample size n. Choose n of the items at random. If the sample size is said to have more defect or less defect, that is based on the value of acceptance number C. C is the acceptance number. So based on the number of items in the sample size, so that we can able to identify the defects. So formulate an acceptance number for the sample size. That is referred as C. D is the number of defects measured in the sample size. It's acceptance number for n. C is the acceptance number for the sample size, where sample size n, that is for lot size. So under each lot size, we want to define what is the sample size. For a given sample size, acceptance number will be listed out, and based on that, measure the probability of defects that may be less or more. Based on that, we want to propose the acceptance or rejection of the lot. So what are the conditions for the single sampling plan? So acceptance or rejection can be done by drawing only one sample from the lot. If the number of defects does not exceed the criteria, that is acceptance criteria, so the lot is accepted. So there will be a acceptance number for the sample size. If that value is within that range, we can accept. The defects is less, we can accept, or if it is more, it has to be rejected. This is a symbolical way of defining the single sampling plan, like a linear hierarchy flowchart diagram. This can be further understood with a detailed sketch, a logical flow diagram. So there are n number of items, a lot which has n number of items, where n is the total number of items in the lot. Okay, where n is the sample size, small n is the sample size. Number of items in the sample size, that is reference, that can be referred as n minus n. Then random sample of items, conduct a random sample of items, pick up the sample of items, pick up a random sample from the item and perform inspection and try to derive out the conclusion. The defect is within the acceptance number or beyond the acceptance number. So this can be categorized under two levels. D is less than or equal to C. C is the acceptance number. D is the defects. Whether it is less than or equal to C or greater than C. If it is less than, accept the lot, not defective. If it is more than the acceptance number, reject the lot. There is some source of defective items. So you have to replace the defective items. So this is the methodology, mechanism for single sampling plan. Likewise, we will move on to the double sampling plan. What is the difference between single and double sampling plan? Let us understand from the comparison. Here we will have two sample size and two sample numbers. Based on that, rejection acceptance are to be carried out. Let us see how. So it is defined by 4 parameters. N1 is the sample size for the first sample. C1 is the acceptance number for the first sample. C2 is the sample size for the second sample. Sorry, N2. C2 is the acceptance number for the second sample. So what are the conditions for the double sampling plan as similar to the single sampling plan? So the first sample is drawn initially. So if the number of defects is less than the number, acceptance number within the tolerable limit, we can accept or reject. The same way, take a sample from the next second batch, then perform the lot whether to accept or reject. So instead of one sample, here we are taking two samples, N1 and N2. Do the operation two times separately, parallelly, and perform the acceptance or rejection. And compare which sample size to be accepted, N1 or N2. So this is the logical framework for double sampling plan. So what we saw in the single sampling plan, some minor modifications. So let us start the discussion. So consider a lot of N items, total number of items. Okay, so take a sample size, two sample size. Okay, N1, N2, two sample size. N1 and N2, then perform a random sample, both N1 and N2, both the sample size, sequentially one after the other. First inspect the sample size N1, then find out the range of occurrence of defects, whether that is within the acceptance number or beyond the acceptance number. Then perform the decision accordingly, accept or reject the lot. If it is within the value less than or equal to C1, accept the lot. If it is greater than C2, reject the lot. So what are the advantages of double sampling plan? We can reduce the amount of information, total amount of information, and we will give a chance to the supplier, second chance to the supplier to consider the rework of raw material. Disadvantage, it is quite more expensive cost wise, and we can lose the economical advantage from the cost point of view, and more data record we have to maintain it. Operating characteristic curve. So what does the concept of operating characteristic curve exactly mean? So here a pictorial representation is given. From this, we can rely upon the following information. Based on the operating characteristic curve, we can able to find out the probability of acceptance, the percentage of accepting a lot, depending on the source of variability in the process or a product functions. So operating characteristic curve is developed along with the SQC, statistical quality control, during this year 1930s and 1940s. It is a graph which helps to improve the quality control system in order to determine the probability of accepting the lot. Define the difference between a good lot and bad lot. It measures the tendency of acceptance sampling plan. The shape of an operating characteristic curve. What is the ideal shape of an operating characteristic curve? So we can divide the probability of acceptance by specifying the percentage interval 0 to 100%. So based on that, we can find out the shape of the curve. So let us understand the ideal shape of the curve first. What is the ideal shape of the operating characteristic curve for a process? So the x-axis, which tells about the percentage of non-conforming, percentage of defective, and y-axis represents the probability of accepting the lot. If the percentage of defective is 0, that is less, it will be, the probability of acceptance will be 100%. If the percentage of defective is said to be 4%, then the probability of accepting the lot can be fixed from the range 4 to 100%. The probability of accepting a lot or rejecting a lot, that can be fixed with a variability of 4 to 100%. So it is typically a S-shaped curve. The operating characteristic curve will, in general sense, it's said to be a S-shaped curve. How this kind of pattern can be obtained? It is obtained by joining the points between the probability of acceptance and percentage of defective items, that is non-conforming items, by carried out through sampling inspection. So this is the further refinement in the S-shaped curve. Okay. So if it is less than 100%, so the performance of the operating characteristic curve will be drawn like this, depending on the source of defect. If it is zero defect, 100%. It is a 10, 80%. 20 presence of probability of acceptance, 20% chance to accept the lot. So this clearly ensures the measure of quality based on the dimensions, product dimensions. So type A and type B, these are the two types of operating characteristic curve. Type A gives the probability of acceptance for an individual lot coming from only a finite production. You take a specific sample, less number of sample from a given population, perform in random inspection from the given population, and this curve is said to be discontinuous. Type B operating characteristic curve, it is a continuous process. The probability of acceptance for a lot coming from the continuous process. In turn, the curve drawn using type B is said to be not a discontinuous, continuous in nature. What does a type A operating characteristic curve will assume? So it has as a binomial or Poisson distribution for having a better estimator for a product quality with respect to the customer viewpoint. Type B operating characteristic curve assume Poisson distribution for a good approximation of a product quality by having infinite lot more number of samples for inspection and with respect to the manufacturer risk or producer risk. So from this we can draw some salient points on operating characteristic curve. So we can able to find out the probability of rejection or acceptance of a lot. We can able to reduce the manufacturer risk, thereby improving the quality within the specified tolerance limit. And we can able to improve the customer satisfaction by reducing the defects or non-conforming percentage of non-conforming limit within the process. So this tells you the detailed information about the presence of a good lot or a bad lot from the operating characteristic curve, depending on the producer risk and the consumer risk. These are the information from the graph. What does x-axis means, y-axis? Now let us see the benefit of using statistical quality control, we can able to reduce the wastage occurring in the production process, and we can able to find out the percentage source of defects occurring in the process. We can able to specify the limit in order to control the error variations, and as a whole eliminating the bottleneck problem in the process of manufacturing. These are some of the basic benefits of statistical quality control charts. So in the second unit, that is a module 2 of metrology quality control, we saw the basic importance of what is acceptance sampling, single sampling, double sampling. A few note on statistical quality control, X bar, R bar chart, more elaborate with the numerical case studies. So the outcome of this unit is to understand the importance of quality engineering more statistically by detecting the source of defects, finding the percentage volume of defects, and how we are going to overcome the defects by taking suitable remedial measure. So thank you for having an enriched learning on statistical quality control information. Thank you one and all for coming here.